Hi, Will. Hi, Kim. Everyone say hi. Thank you for tuning in and giving us this presentation. So we'll kick off. Welcome everyone to the Singapore Talk today. So today we have a couple of few special topics. So I'm not too sure if you recognize the words. This is coined by Phyllis. She wanted to have a play on the "I'm looking for a guy in finance" meme. So hopefully that resonated with a lot of you guys. So let's get started. Okay. Okay, so similarly to our previous calls, you guys haven't joined our WhatsApp group, you can scan the QR code and get in there. If not, you can reach out to any of our colleagues, Phyllis, myself, or Aloysius, and we'll get you sorted in. So over here, we'll have all the announcements and any tips and tricks or resources that will be helpful for you guys. Okay, so again, welcome. So we have Phyllis, Aloysius, and myself. So we try to do this every quarter. So for some of you, I know there are some new faces today. So hopefully we'll see you more often in the future talks. So the next one, okay, before we go there, this is kind of like the agenda for today. So do a little bit of housekeeping. Will be talking about AI. Kim will be talking about the building your own resume. I'll wrap it off a little bit on this secrets of the Viz. And then we have the prizes. So thank you everyone for participating in the bingo. Kim, I stole your idea from the Melbourne Tuck. So we have like this piece here that they filled up and they basically network with everyone while having pizza. So that's great. So this is the timelines for the year. We are currently on today, which is the blue line. So from Tableau side, they actually released the Data Plus TV data set. So similarly to the Data Plus movies, you can actually download the starter kit and start to create something new. There's a few quite inspiring visas that are created by the community. I think there's one on science fiction that is done by Nicole and a couple more. So the next meetup we have will be in November, where we'll do kind of like a wrap up of the year and also showcasing IronVis, which we will suspect might drop in October. No promises, but I mean, judging from the cadence and schedule from Tableau in the past few years, it's probably around October. So in terms of Data Plus TV, I'll share the link to this web page after the call, after the meetup, so you guys can go in and explore it. Let's just want to do a quick overview on the 2-3 pieces.
Yeah, so for the few visas that I saw for Data Plus TV is I think Bo McCready's the worst TV show finales. I think this was really well done with all the spark lines and also all the highlighting that was being done. And then the next one is of course is this also on Vala Muglis in the Seven Kingdoms. I think the waffle charts here were also very clean and the entire design was also very clean. And I might be biased, but like the two charts that I actually chose were like all in white as well because they just made like the visualization a lot cleaner. And then if you want to get started, you can always go to this link. I think all the way at the bottom right hand corner here, you can see like a link where this is just a template dashboard that the Tableau actually provides so that you can make everything better, make the designs better, have more like creativity with what should be shown with like the data that is being provided. Yeah, so that's for Data Plus.
So just on Data Plus TV, the data set, I think, is about 200 million rows of data. So there's a lot of data to digest. So all the way from like 1940 something or to 2024. So your best favorite TV shows, if you have something in mind, you can dig into the data and do some analysis to create something personal and interesting. Okay, and the next thing I want to talk about is Tableau conference. So they announced, since our last meetup, they actually announced the Tableau conference dates for next year. It's on 15th of April to 17th of April. So that leaves you a good half a year to get approval from your bosses to go there. If you, sorry, whoops, did we lose you guys? Let me see. Hold on, we are hitting some technical difficulties. Oh, timeout. Oh, okay.
What's up? I think we're both here. So.
There might be some technical difficulties at their end.
Okay. I'm always conscious who's got the technical difficulty.
Sorry,
It's
we,
me.
we lost you guys for a bit. We're facing some technical difficulties, but we're back. Yeah. So on Tableau conference, so we have about more than 6 months actually to talk to your bosses. So if you need justification letter or whatnot, you can look for me, Phyllis or Aloysius. We'll get a justification letter from you from Tableau. So you can send it out to your bosses. It's a real experience going to Tableau conference because you meet like-minded folks and the community, and there's so much to learn because every year we have a good 100, no, maybe 50 to 100 committee speakers that touches on different topics, like from data culture to like tips and tricks. So there's a lot of things to be learned in Tableau conference. So hopefully we'll see you next year at Tableau conference. This year, me and Phyllis and Kotia was there, so we had a smashing good time. So next year, hopefully, we'll be there again. Right. Let's see. Where's my slides? Oh. Okay. So over to you, Will. Thanks for holding you up.
No worries, no problem at all. Okay. Let me go share my screen. I need to be a presenter to share. Oh, there we go.
Right.
There we go.
Are you able to share?
Yep. I think that's coming through. Is it not? Oh, there's something. Hey, that's good.
There we go.
No, okay. No, awesome. Thank you all for having me back. I especially love the title of this event. I never picked up on it, but yes, I was a guy in finance way back when. So that was my like origin story, if you like. But now I've been doing a lot of work with AI, mostly generative AI tools like ChatGPT, Midjourney, Suno, all these kind of new tools that have come on the block. And I put together a presentation to give you some ideas and inspirations for what to do in this coming world of AI tools and capabilities and how you can play with that with Tableau. So I call this presentation the magic of AI, and I find that magic means different things depending on who you are when it comes to AI. So the companies really love AI because the more they talk about it, the more money they make. It's true. Like the more they talk about it, the higher the share prices go. So they keep flooding all these new AI features coming out, all this new AI in the news is creating this kind of like hype cycle at the moment. We've seen a lot of AI. You almost have to be living off the internet to not hear about AI. It's been everywhere. And the trouble with that is then you see some of the demos, some of the senior leaders see the demos and think, this is it. This is the answer to all my problems. You know, I don't need that project that's been with my data team for like 6 months. I can just get an AI to do it for me. This is fantastic. All these things I've had wanting to do, they'll all be done soon. And I'll be done with AI. And for us analysts, it's slightly less magical. It is a sign of despair, sort of anger, like frustration, sort of a bit of existential crisis. And who wouldn't be? I mean, if someone comes along and says, oh, you're going to be replaced with a $20 a month tool, I'm like, why me? Like, so what I want to do with this presentation is give you some ideas, inspirations for how you can combat some of these arguments, but better still, how you can actually use this AI to help push forward with your careers. So I wanted to start with what the secret is with generative AI. And this took me a while to sort of figure out this sort of great knowledge bases, but it's kind of just staring me in the face. And this is sort of the rule I keep coming back to, is that all generative AI does is generate content. So when I stopped thinking about things like ChatGPT as a knowledge base and started thinking of it, it's just trying to generate me an answer to what I've asked it. This is why, like, if you give it, say, a maths problem to do or count the number of R's in strawberry, it doesn't always get the answer right. It just kind of just generates a typical response to that kind of question. It doesn't validate that that's right. So I stopped seeing these things as like the knowledge base, but thinking, well, this is something I can use to convert existing materials I have into something different. This is when it's kind of clicked for me to work. So you have the typical text documents. You could turn that into a summary of the document. You could also turn that into pictures based on the document. You could also turn that into a song. It's ridiculous what you can do now with generative AI, but thinking it as you've got to start from a good material to then turn into something else, this is where my head's been at for a while. And so, like, with this in mind, what I wanted to start by combating that question of how do I stop AI taking my job, which has been like a concern for a while. And this triggered from me from seeing this. So this was at Databricks conference earlier this year. They are well equipped with Tableau, so this is okay. But what they were showing here was how AI models have been improving. They've been getting smarter as time has gone on, and sort of they give you this trend. There's only a matter of time before they'll reach the peak performance here, like in a few years' time. But what this knowledge is based on their performance against this benchmark they provide. So this is a standard benchmark in the community, which is like this 5-shot MMLU. And this contains a lot of stuff that doesn't really relate to our jobs at all. This will ask me things like be able to answer questions about skincare regimes or astrology. It doesn't quite know data things. It's not tested on that. So what I decided to do, if I was going to see how good these AIs are, could I make my own benchmark, just test how good they were? And I was unsure about how you kind of set a test for your own job. And thankfully, the Tableau community was here to help. So I found this project, Prepping Data. So prepping data is all about preparing data sets. So you start with a typical data set, and you're given a set of instructions on how to go and improve, transform into something else. And this made a nice kind of challenge, because a lot of my work is spent preparing data sets. And if I can get an AI to do that, that's most of my work gone. So this is how the typical challenge looks. So you have this input file, like a data set. You're then given this set of instructions for what you need to do. And here's your goal. Here's your output step at the bottom. I thought, okay, I was able to then give this to ChatGPT, and I didn't just give it one. I gave it 50 of these, and I could then assess how well it had done by checking the output step. Now, do you want to have a guess at how good ChatGPT was at answering these challenges? Just maybe have a think. I don't know. I can't really see too many people, or there's no chat to give an answer to, so I'll give it a couple of minutes. But okay, the answer is 24%. So only like about 1 in 4 responses it gave was correct. So this was me giving it the whole challenge and saying, can you write a Python script to do this? Executing a Python script and checking. Only like 1 in 4 came back. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a massive step up from if you had a problem like this and went to Google, we very unlikely to get the exact response, exact answer come back. So it's an improvement there, but you can't think about building something maintainable, something consistently to be working off ChatGPT if you're only going to get it right 1 out of 4 times. That was just like a place where companies really can't go at the moment. But then so I've got to this 24%. It then made me think, well, back to that challenge. Well, you give them the starting point, you give them the direct instructions of how to get there, and then you give them the endpoint. Like, when is that ever a case in any project we've ever done? Like, you're given the data set and how to transform it. That doesn't happen, right? So I thought, could I take away the instructions and see how good ChatGPT was then? Again, did you want to have a guess at how well ChatGPT can prepare data sets when it knows what the output looks like and the input, but doesn't know how to get there?
Anyone have any wild guess?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. So, well, it might be a bit small on the screen, but the answer came down to 7%. So really, yeah, not going to be reliable. And what it said to me, I even did this other one where I didn't give it the output step, so it didn't know what the data was going to look like at the end, and then it got none of them right. But what this spoke to me was it's a lot more than just can it do the job. It's like, does it have the idea of the direction it needs to do? Does it have the idea of the steps it needs to take to get there? What the output needs to look like? And really spoke to me to saying, well, yes, the AI can help you to a point, but it's your contribution to this is much more than just generating code. It's understanding the problem, understanding how to get there, understanding the direction the business needs to take. So if you're ever faced with this kind of challenge where they're thinking of implementing AI to replace certain functionalities, actually test that it does do the work, that it can actually do the work, and it's not just generating a response in these cases. So there's a project I've done, but this is all very like negative against the AI. Can we actually use this stuff to actually help us in the future? How can I actually go and like use this technology to actually help me? And so I started going down this path of like studying again. So if I was studying for the Tableau certification, what do I need to do? So I need to go and read through a load of documentation. I've got to watch videos. I've probably got to do a bit of playing around with Tableau. But this is quite like somewhat inaccessible. Like, I'm not going to go and pull up the Tableau help pages like 5 minutes before a call or on the way home from work. I find it quite inaccessible. What I wanted was this thought of, could I take this documentation and change it into something more useful for me to study with? So what I've developed here is a custom GPT that is all about studying for the certification. So I actually have it here, a quick little demo. So this is a GPT. It has, what it essentially does is it's effectively like a Q&A bot on the Tableau certification. So instead of it just generating answers, what I've got is I've given it all the certification materials. So what it would do here is it will go and find, in this case, pick me a random question. So what it would do is it will go find a topic area, ask a question, and give you 4 answers generated from the actual Tableau help pages. I've got these here. Does anyone want to have a go at an answer for this? Which one do you think it is? Like A, B, or C? Maybe Kimberly. I don't want to put you on the spot. If not, I can just, I'm just going to pick an answer. It doesn't matter. So you pick, say, answer C. Or so that's incorrect, but it explains to me why. And I see it's giving me this explanation of like the difference between floating and tiled containers here. Though this has been like a way I've taken that existing content and changed it into something like useful. I mean, I can feasibly see that I could pull up, say, a ChatGPT thing beforehand, pull up ChatGPT on my phone, have like answer a couple of questions or something while I'm on the way home, or when I've got some dead time in the day. I also don't take my word for it. I've actually been really like nice to see that some people have used this GPT to help them study for the certification. So if you're thinking of getting certified, having that certification, do check out the GPT. Give me some feedback. Got any? But yeah, that QR code will take you there. So this is one of those cases where I've been able to take that documentation, turn it into something else, something more useful, and is finding these use cases. But while I was looking at this, I thought, well, what other use cases do I have for this documentation? So I then produced a little podcast. So I was able to take the same materials, put it into ChatGPT and say, could you make me a podcast script on one of these topics? So I used ChatGPT to write me a script. I then combined this with 11 Labs, which is a text-to-speech tool, which will go and give me voices for the two different characters, if you like, in my podcast. And so,
hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tableau Level Up podcast. I'm Jack Harper.
And I'm Lucy Bennett. Today, we're diving deep into one of Tableau's most powerful features, level of detail, or LOD calculations.
That's right, Lucy.
We'll leave it there. But this got me thinking, like, I would never go and record a podcast because it's too much time. I need to find someone else, and I'll probably get half the dialogue wrong most of the time. So this was now like a way that I can actually change these materials.
Sorry, Will, can we pause for a bit because the screen went off a bit again?
Oh.
Yeah, I think there's a timer on the screen.
Oh.
It's not you, it's us.
Okay. It's like you've had your 10 minutes.
And we're back.
Okay, cool. So you didn't miss much on the screen. It was just me sharing that podcast episode that I created. But it gave me these ideas of how I can use this to actually take some materials, turn them into a new format to help people learn and help people skill up. But what can we actually do so I can get myself new skills, but how can I actually bring this into my job? That's where it matters most, right? And I could tell you a lot of like little things about how you can use AI to help improve code, help you with say visualization feedback and crafting emails, but I want to talk about where there's some real impact that you could do with AI, which I've got here. Right. Okay, so this is a scenario I've put together of, it's a typical sort of business dashboard. I'm working with a company, hypothetical company, about selling kitchen appliances. And I've been working with this company for a while, and it's the same story. It's not going very well. And they don't seem to be doing anything to change what they're doing, what they're selling. It just seems that we keep, every month I come back to them and the sales have gone down again and again and again. So what I will want to try and do is spark an idea of something else they could do to try and help improve the business. So when I've been working with data scientists, I've put together a little forecast here of where things are going, and I can tell you it's not going well, and it's not going to go well in the future. But I've been able to find some other data about understanding what customers actually want from brands. So I've got this little data set here of like top 3 things people want, whether they want things like companies to support animal welfare, climate change, these kind of factors. And I think I've got this hypothesis that we've kind of, in the products, they've kind of deviated away from what the market wants. So could I try and take some of these generative AI ideas and spark an idea of like, hey, we could actually go and make some products to support these cultures or these needs that our customers have. So from this, I mean, I've been able to build out bits of generative AI to try and produce little product mock-ups here. I don't think these are like what the product's going to look like, but I'm just, again, trying to spark that idea with the stakeholders, say, this is a product that we could make feasibly. This is trying to get them on board with this idea, because the business does need to change, otherwise it's not going to do very well. So I've used generative AI here with the image roles to bring in little product mock-ups here of what it could look like. That was very sort of straightforward to do. Climate change, more of a green feel, or more sort of hard wearing sort of work. With this, I've also added in a little bit of the text to speech again. So going back to 11 Labs, I would have, say, a product description, and I could get that read out in a voice of some kind. So I don't think it's going to come through on the recording, but I'm going to try. No. Just imagine like a kind of like David Attenborough voice talking about their eco-friendly kettle. But this was sort of some ideas I had about how I can bring in some like generative AI to not just like do the gradual improvements, but try and get them to like spark a new idea of something else they could be doing with this business. Right, let's get back to this. Okay. Yeah, this is coming up to sort of round up where I am, but so this was the sort of guiding principle, and all of this is sort of thinking about, you've got this document, it's got these photos, got all this sort of content that you have, these materials, and how you can use generative AI to transform them into something new, something different, something in a different format. You can make things more accessible, more easier to like pick up in the moment, or even to tackle something completely new that was going to be out of your like remit before. But who says that you can't just quickly design a product mock-up if it's going to help someone picture it in their own head? So this is the guiding principle I take you away with. And one last thing, I see you all like user groups. So if you'd like to join another user group, Tableau AI user group is there. We've had 2 meetups so far. Our last one was with the Einstein Copilot team, where they were showing us the product as well as a few sort of behind the scenes and what's coming next. So we try and get quite interesting AI speakers to come along and show us what's coming next and how you can apply it. There was the QR code there. These meetings are all virtual, and the next one is due October, November time, and should be in an APAC friendly timing, which hopefully all good news. But that link will take you through to some of our like previous recordings if you'd like to catch up on what's going on with AI and Tableau. But other than that, it's been a pleasure to be back. Great to see you all. Hope to be back in person next time, because yeah, I've missed the food. So look forward to seeing you all again soon. That was all from me. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Will. I think that's very insightful. Everyone probably have an idea of how AI can enable you rather than threaten your jobs. Does anyone have any questions for Will? Yeah, everyone is just wowed by your presentation. They have no questions.
You can, if you have any follow-ups, you can always catch up with me on LinkedIn or something. I'm happy to answer questions there.
Sounds good. All right, thanks, Will. You can stay on the call to listen to Kim as well. So Kim, over to you.
You don't have to, Will. I won't be offended if you log off. I know it's lunchtime for you. Okay, I'm just gonna share my screen. Okay, that was super cool, Will. I'm really impressed. I don't have much faith in AI, but I think you've changed my mind. So I'm going to try out some of those things that you've shown, especially the Tableau certification. That's super cool. Okay, so thank you, Singapore, for having me join your tug. It's such an honor to be here virtually. And just a little story before I start. The very first hug that I ever went to that kickstarted my love for Tableau was actually the Singapore tug. So this was probably about, I want to say like 5 or 6 years ago. So, since then, since I was exposed to the whole Tableau world, I've been on my journey, Tableau ambassador, Tableau visionary, and now I'm a speaker for the Singapore tug. So things have literally come full circle for me. So thank you for having me. Tonight I'll be talking about resumes, but not just any old resume. I'll be talking about interactive resumes and building one that kind of showcases you and your personality. Work, yeah. So before I start, I just wanted to share some tidbits about myself that you probably won't find on my resume. So that's me there, taken at the Tableau conference this year with my viz that was featured in the Tableau public gallery. And it was really nice to have a viz about breast milk featured in the gallery. I thought was pretty cool. So I am a mum to 2 young girls, and today this time is my favorite time of the day because they're actually fast asleep and I can get things done and do whatever I want. I'm a bit of a space nerd, so if you've ever seen any of my Tableau public work, you'll see that I do have many space related vizzes. There's just something about space that both fascinates me but also frightens me at the same time. I'm also an extreme introvert, so my favorite thing to do is just to stay home alone without anyone. As of today, I'm currently on a 340-day learning streak on Duolingo. I'm kind of stuck in that Diamond League. I can't crack it, but I'm actually late on my lesson today. So after this, I'll jump onto Duolingo. And one of my goals in life is to try to make the world a better place, one visualization at a time. But enough about me. Let's talk resumes. So building a resume on Tableau Public or on Tableau can literally change your life. So at the end of last year, I was looking for jobs and I came across this job that kind of sounded like my dream job. And I really wanted to apply for it, but I don't know what it's like in Singapore, but here in Melbourne or in Australia, the job market is pretty tough. And when I found this job advert on LinkedIn, I really wanted to apply for it, but it had over 150 applicants, which kind of blew my mind. I didn't realize how tough the job market was. And so I thought to myself, I have to make myself stand out. I really want a good crack at this job. The job had asked for Tableau skills, so it was like a Tableau-based job, building out visualizations. So I thought, what can make myself stand out? Why not build an interactive resume? And I did. And not only did I get the job, but creating this resume also really helped me to kind of grow my portfolio. And it was a good way to kind of showcase my Tableau skills as well. And what I found most importantly, and this was something that came as a surprise to me, we all suffer from that dreaded imposter syndrome, but through documenting the things that I had done, my skills, my awards, the recognitions, and even the community stuff that I'd been involved with, it just really did make me realize that I'd actually achieved quite more than I thought I had. So building something like a resume really helps you kind of reflect on your journey and your achievements as well. I'm actually really surprised at how popular my interactive resume is on Tableau. It achieved Viz of the Day, and it has over 15,000 views, 347 favorites. And I've actually had people kind of reach out to me and want to connect to me because they saw it. I just thought to myself, who knew my job history would be so exciting or so interesting for other people? But what makes my resume so unique? When I was planning to build a resume, I did look on Tableau for inspiration. So I browsed on Tableau Public and I saw a few other resumes, and my job was to stand out. So I didn't want to build a standard resume. I wanted to create something a little bit creative, something a little bit out of the box, that really showcased my personality as well as my skill set. And I wanted to focus on things that I was really passionate about in order to stand out and to look a little bit different. So, even down to the colors that I use, they weren't really typical colors that I saw that other people had used in their resume. And you know what? I think I achieved what I had set out to achieve. So let's take a look under the hood of my resume. So if you haven't seen my interactive resume on Tableau, this is what it looks like. And no, you cannot see it. Hang on. I'm not as adept at this as Will is, so just bear with me. Okay, cool. Hopefully you should see that now. So I'm just going to take you through some of my thought process and ideas I had when I was building this viz. So we know that all resumes need to showcase your experiences and your past jobs. So, you know, I didn't want to be too much out of the box and not include that, because I was actually, you know, applying for a job. But I wanted it to be different. I looked at a lot of resumes, as I said, and I saw lots of what you would expect: timelines, Gantt charts, lists to show people's job history, but I didn't really like any of it. They were all a bit kind of not me. But I did come across this particular resume. Oh, sorry, not a resume. This particular visualization by Autumn Batani and our lovely friend CJ Mays. And when I saw it, I thought, I found it. This is the timeline. This is the timeline I wanted to use. So I decided to make a circular timeline like the centerpiece of my resume. And it also meant that I could kind of utilize the space, like, you know, in the circle and around the circle as well. And what's so great about this is that Autumn has a really great tutorial on her blog on how to create this timeline, which was really great for someone who is not good at calculations and is mathematically challenged. I just followed her tutorial and I was able to create something myself. So just go back. So you can see how I've kind of used the timeline as a centerpiece of the resume, and utilize the space around it to add the extra information. Okay, cool. So I've got my timeline there, and I've got my my sparsely sparse jobs that I've done. But then in almost all of the resumes that I looked at, the author had added a photo of themselves. Now, I don't really like taking photos, and I don't like sharing photos of myself. I don't even have a photo of myself on LinkedIn, even though I've had so many people tell me you should put a photo of yourself. And I remember years ago coming across a tutorial that talked about how to create art in Tableau. And I went searching for it, and I thought to myself, hang on a minute, I could kill 3 birds with 1 stone here. I could, 1, include a photo of myself, 2, that photo not really a photo, and 3, it's created in Tableau. So it's really quite, you know, quite creative. So what I did was, you can see here, I did create this photo, and it's created by data, and you can see that it's all data points, and it's rendered using circles. So 3,000 circles to be exact. And like I said, each circle here is a data point. So if you wanted to have a look at the tutorial, it is on of course, it's a Flerlich Twins. So it's written by Ken Flerlich, and he talks about how to create geometric art in Tableau. And what I thought was really cool was, and I think you had to download something. I did it a while ago, but when you upload your photo and it renders a photo, it gives you, you can see it be created and see the circles start to build up to create the photo. So seeing myself appear as circles was actually pretty cool. But yeah, I thought that was a great way to kind of add some interest to the visualization as well. Okay, so next I wanted to show the awards and the recognition that I'd received, because you know, I wanted to stand out. I wanted to show my prospective employer, you know, this is how good I am at Tableau. I've won awards. So what did I do? I decided to create this little unit chart here, to depict, you know, each of the awards and the competitions that I had not won but came in second. But I wanted to use symbols, and I didn't like any of the symbols that were available in Tableau because they all looked too perfect. That, you know, everything was too perfect, and I didn't like that. So I went in and I drew my own shapes, and they're not perfect. They're a bit crooked and a bit wonky, but that's kind of what the vibe I was going for, because that's me. I'm a bit crooked and a bit wonky. So I placed that there. So again, it's a resume, so we do want to include the skills that we have. And at this point, I kind of had limited space to use, you know, within the resume. I didn't want to cram too much in. I'm a big fan of white space. As you can see, I've still been able to keep the white space there while also including the information that I wanted to include. I had a list of skills that I wanted to include so that my prospective employer would know, you know, I do have these skills in data, in Tableau, as well as, you know, some of the other kind of skills as well. So I've got here digital analytics, like Google Analytics and Google Tag Manager. So I listed it all out in a spreadsheet, but I did have this small space here in the corner. And so what I did was I just grouped the skills and added this drop down so that we could kind of interact with the visualizations and, you know, see different categories and how I kind of ranked myself in those categories. You know, we are building a visual, an interactive resume after all, so I kind of had to bring in that interactive piece. And it also meant that, you know, because it was condensed, it wasn't a whole big long list, I was able to kind of add it to that corner there. And one last thing I really wanted to include in the resume was all the community stuff that I'd done, all of the, you know, the webinars that I've recorded, any kind of speaking and presentations that I'd given, as well as like guest blogs that I'd been part of. And, you know, when I was putting this together, this is where it kind of hit me that I had done quite a bit in the community, and I didn't realize how involved I was until I kind of listed everything out. So this goes back to what I was saying, you know, it's a good way to kind of reflect on your journey and reflect on all the things that you have done over the years. And, you know, I actually didn't remember everything that I'd done. So I went into Google and I Googled myself, and I was shown like a list of like things that I had forgotten that I had done. So, you know, if you don't remember, just go in, Google yourself, and, you know, take a trip down memory lane. Again, I decided to use these uneven diamonds to show each community activity that I'd done. And then I color coded them into groups. And I just really like the way this kind of turned out, and it fit like neatly within that kind of little column space there. So that's kind of the thought process that I had when I was going through the resume and building it. I did go back and forth between different designs and different color palettes until I kind of eventually settled on this. But I just want to also give you some other examples of resumes that I've seen that kind of that shows the author's personality, which I thought was really cool. So this visualization by Lindsay Bethenzahl, I always get her name wrong. She's included this little bit here about her favorite charts, which I thought was a really nice touch to kind of, you know, provide a bit more kind of information about herself, but also tie it back to like data and visualization, you know, what she's trying to show in her resume. So I thought that was really nice. This is Sam Parsons' resume. So if you don't know Sam, he is known for creating some really kind of beautiful but wacky type visualizations. He tends to kind of make his own chart types up, and you can see here his resume is no exception. He's got this really nice chart here that, oh, it's going to reload on me, that shows all of his skills and experiences and all of his kind of milestones and the things he's done in the community as well. And the last one I wanted to show is this pretty unconventional resume from Jyoti Gautam. And you can see off the bat, it's really quite unique. It's not like any resume that I've ever seen, but it's really quite beautiful as well. It contains minimalistic information, but information that your a prospective employer would want to see about someone. It's got her skills, her achievements, and then obviously her work experience and her education. But if that is not enough inspiration for you, I did, in my research, stumble across this interactive resume gallery by Tableau Public. So, if you do want a bit more inspiration, if you're creating your own visual interactive resume, you can have a look here. Let's close this. And go back to there. So some of the key takeaways I kind of want to leave you with before I finish up. Don't be afraid to let your personality shine through when you're creating these resumes. I'm a really big advocate of doing things your own way, not someone else's. And I think it's really beautiful when people are creating things like a resume that's, some of their personality shines through. It's not all just work-based and business-like. I like to see that personality. Focus on what makes you unique. So, if you are having trouble thinking or finding something that's unique about yourself, ask someone who's close to you. Sometimes it's hard for us to kind of see ourselves the way that others see us. Experiment and think outside the box. So, this is, I think, a great opportunity for you to try something new, something different. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. You've done something new and you've got something to add to your portfolio. And of course, do what I've done and leverage the community for inspiration and ideas. Jump on Tableau Public, talk to other people. It doesn't need to be other resumes that you take inspiration from, like similar to that circular timeline. That wasn't a resume that I'd taken inspiration from. So it doesn't need to be resume based. And that's it from me. So I hope everyone is all now inspired to go and create their own resume, their own unique version, their own way. And if you do have any questions along the way, you can connect with me on X, formerly Twitter, LinkedIn, and obviously on Tableau Public as well. I am open to questions if anyone has any questions.
Thank you, Kim. I think this is very inspiring. Kim actually raised a very important point. I think a lot of us face imposter syndrome throughout our careers, and this is a very good way of kind of taking point of what you achieve. And like Kim said, chances are you'll find out that you achieve more than you actually think that you did. So this is really a good way to keep yourself, feeling good about yourself as well. So does anyone have any questions that you want to ask Kim? See.
Hello, Kim. My name is Susu. So I'm actually a lecturer in a education institute. I think your project is really fantastic.
Thank you.
But I think in for us in Singapore, for the younger youth who are looking for jobs, I think your project is not just a resume. It is actually a resume on the surface, but it's actually a portfolio.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, I mean, for us, a lot of us, we do projects and then it's live all over the place and they have links all over on the internet. But your project actually give us a sort of a table of content for the HR that's going to look through our portfolio to go through. And it's really, really fantastic. And I like the idea of the circular timeline. Yeah, it really shows like, our life. Yeah, I really like it. I'm going to look through your biz. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's a circular timeline. Like I said at the beginning of my talk, I'll come back full circle now. Like my Tableau journey started at the Singapore Tableau user group, and now I'm speaking to you all about it. So yeah, thank you.
This is also like homecoming for you, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it makes me miss Singapore so much.
Yeah. So another point, if you're building portfolios and interactive resumes on Tableau Public, there's actually a feature there that is hire me. So you can enable that feature. So someone who is looking out for candidates with Tableau skills can actually contact you directly through Tableau Public. So that's also another nice trick to have. Cool. I don't think there is any more questions. Everyone is just, awestruck by both of you. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my name is Surendra. I'm part of the Tableau team. I have a question to Will. So it's pretty interesting research about your experience using AI, right? And based on your research and your involvement in AI, you mentioned about how far we are when using AI to do like more like analytics use cases because of the nature of hallucination. Like, you can't really do like a lot of absolute mathematical equation accurately, right? So I'm keen to hear from your views how far we are in this AI journey before we reach to the stage where we can rely 100% of the output from the AI when it comes to analytics works. I hope the question is clear.
Yeah, no, that was clear. 100% is I think there's a far mark. It's almost like if the thing is, if we had this, if we were humans, like there's a lot of like distrust with AI, but if a colleague got something wrong, you wouldn't be like, I don't trust them anymore. That's it forever. They're never gonna use them again. In terms of that work, I can see it progressing further and further where like the AI is able to understand the context of what we're doing. But is there a point where 100% gets everything right? I think that's part on the AI, part on the user. So the examples I was sharing there was very simply, oh, can you write a Python script to solve this problem? I know there's ways I could improve that performance with, say, prompt engineering. Like some of the errors I was running into were things like it was trying to pick functions that weren't in the version of pandas I was using anymore. So it was running into its own errors because of like in a sense, I could have reframed the prompt to be a bit more accurate in that case to get it there. But so there's definitely parts on the user on that education side, but will there be a time when it's 100%? That's a hard one. I think give it 5 years, give it 10 years, maybe they'll be like more ingrained in what we do to generate like starter work. But should it decide the direction of what we do? I don't think so. I don't know. There's a lot of different angles you could take on that question, but yeah, happy to follow up if anything else comes up on that.
Thanks, Will. Actually, on that, I'm not too sure if everyone saw this article on this analyst trying to ask ChatGPT to count the number of R's in strawberries. Yeah, and ChatGPT insistently said there's only 2 R's in strawberry, but there's actually 3. So it took a long stretch of, I think, a good 4 to 5 pages of him trying to reprompt ChatGPT so that it gives him the right value of 3. So I think this goes a long way to say, to kind of augment the point that Surendra and Will were saying about how AI would reach like 100% accuracy. I don't think we'll ever get there, like Will said. And this is the main reason behind, because you will always still need the user input to train the AI, because the AI is trained on what we give them. So whatever, I mean, it's the same as like when we started our data journey. There's always this phrase that goes, rubbish in, rubbish out. So it's exactly the same issue that we have with AI. So whatever you feed to them is going to be the quality of the output that's going to come out. Right. Cool. Thanks, Will and Kim, for joining us today. I think everyone had a very great time listening to both your talks. You guys feel free to stay on the call. I mean, my session is probably not going to be as exciting as both of you. Anyone has any questions before we move on? Cool. Alrighty. Let me just hijack. Okay, for my section, whoops, sorry about that. I thought I muted that. Okay, so I've recently, not recently, from March, I actually did start this YouTube channel called Secrets of the Viz. The premise of that was we often see Viz of the day on Tableau Public that is like inspiring and really amazing. And we often think, how the author actually built those Vizes. And one of the, comment that we often give people is, download the workbook if it's downloadable, and try to reverse engineer. But it's not easy to traverse in another person's workbook. You could kind of understand the calculations behind, but there are certain design styles and certain ways that people do things that might baffle you or confuse you even more. So part of the reason I started this YouTube series is to kind of talk to the authors themselves to understand a bit on their design inspirations, how they prepare the data, and what are the key and unique ways of visualizing that you might learn something from. So it's a very I try to keep it really short. So it's essentially a short 10 to 15 minutes interview style of videos that dives into the author's design inspiration and data prep. So today I think I probably have about 25 episodes, and these are all from really talented authors. And as I'm talking through them, I have an episode with Kim Lee as well. It's not uploaded yet. I'm still editing it. But like I've learned so much from all these authors. Like everyone has their own design styles and way of doing things. And I found that the commonalities that they have and difference is that it's not all glamour behind the scenes. People use various tools to start off their data visualization journey. So some people use Canva. In fact, Kim Lee's presentation is entirely built in Canva, if you haven't noticed. For me, I'm a more loyal customer of Figma. So I use a lot of Figma to build my dashboard mockups. I use Figma to build images and titles for my dashboards. Some people like hand-drawn. So I have some guests on the show that they like to sketch it out on paper before they actually build the Tableau dashboard. Some people use Illustrator, some people use Photoshop. There's no one tool that is like the the best tool. People use different tools for different reasons. And at the end of the day, everyone is messy behind those work scenes. You see the end results on Tableau Public, it's so nice and everything. But there's so many steps to get to that point that people don't really talk about, right? And then the second thing that I found common was that a lot of the authors, it's often nice to work with a clean data set, but in real life, you never get clean data set, right? So a lot of the authors, they either they use Excel, they use Python, they use SQL, or they use Tableau Prep. So there are different tools again, and some of them actually create their own data set. So when you're building something of a data visualization, you don't have to exactly have the data set in like the perfect form, right? So for example, I think earlier this year, I created a fitness journey of my own fitness journey. And the data was actually coming from my Apple Watch. And it was actually recording a lot of the activities that I didn't even know Apple was tracking me about. When I downloaded it, I think it was about like 2 gigs of data for the past 4 years, right? And I just keep it on with me. I didn't even start an activity or whatnot, and it tracks like my total number of walks, total number of activities, active minutes, and so on and so forth. And all those are data points. So if you think about it, like in our real life, everything that happens around us is a data point. You can track anything if you want to. Like if you say, like say for example, if I want to track the number of sleep I have, I can do it with Apple Watch. If I want to track, the shows that I watch, I can go to Netflix API and stuff like that. There's data everywhere, right? So as long as you can find that, you can combine different data sources together, or you can even record your own data. I know for Kim Lee's Secret of the Viz episode, she actually traveled across Melbourne to the different statues of women in power. And yeah, when I was talking to her, it was really amazing. The Viz took you, what, 1 year to complete, because she had to travel around with her young daughter just to visit and take pictures of the statues. So it was really amazing. Like people, go to different lengths to create a personal story. So if you have time, feel free to drop in and listen. I mean, you can even listen to it as a podcast because there's really nothing much going on the screen. Like the authors, sometimes they go through like the different steps and all, but you can actually listen through if you like to, right? So for today, this is just a quick intro. I'm gonna also talk about sorry, not this one. This one. So this is a visualization that I built. I can't remember when I built it. Probably last year. So it's a accumulation of all the common hacks and tricks that I do often in work that I want to share with you guys. So let me just disconnect here first. So I'll do a demo straight up here. I don't know where it will drop. Oh, can put speaker on. But yeah, I got a personal mic. Let me see. Okay, let me just switch this over. Where is my screen? Yeah, I probably need to stop sharing. It doesn't show my. Oh yeah, here you go. Is it appearing? Okay, something funny about this picture, right? This picture of me, right, is actually not a real picture. I basically took my headshot and I pump it through AI to create that Tableau. I mean, we don't have this Tableau Ambassador T-shirt for sure. I mean, Will and Kim Lee will validate that for me. And you see how we can use AI to create something that is like extraordinary. Like this is just me creating something out of a whim. I was testing out the different image capabilities of AI, and it turned out really good. Like it made me look slimmer than I am. So I'm really happy how it turned out. The backdrop of all this is also AI. So like the desk, the laptops. The only thing I changed was just within those canvas, I just replaced with my logos. But essentially everything you see in this page is created by AI. So going back to Will's point, there's so many ways of using AI, and I mean you can use AI to generate all kinds of contents that you can think of, right? Be it audio, be it image, or be it video and stuff like that. So, okay. So these are the 10 kind of tricks that I want to go through today, which I often use. The first one is actually different skills, right? So what I mean by different skills is that if you look at here, right? Often in times when you have a label, a measure, like say some sales, this is from Superstore data. So your label is truncated to thousands. So you have a point, like a 1 decimal point in thousands. The same thing with your labels. The problem is that if you change the format for this, it actually changes both the labels and the tooltips. So one way of kind of hacking it is to duplicate this. So you can hold down Control and drag it to tooltip, and you double click for a quick calculation. You just do a /1. So what this does is just divides the number by 1, which essentially gives you the same number. And Tableau actually recognizes this as a different metric. So you can actually go over here, and now you can change this to a full value. And just make sure that your tooltip is using the new measure. And if you hover over now, you can see that the measure, the tooltip and the label are of different formats. So this is a quick way of showing, because often in times if you have, especially if you have numbers that goes up in millions, you don't want to show that millions of numbers on the chart itself, right? You want to give that context in the tooltip, but you want to keep it short and sweet in the visualization. The next thing is dynamic formatting, right? So when we have something like a metric, you can create like a parameter that, is it popping out? No, it's not popping out on the screen. But wait, let me see. I think, yeah, I might need to share the full screen. And we have the infinity mirror. Right? Okay, let's see. Does this show up now? Oh yeah, okay. So this is a very simple parameter that just takes a string value, right? To switch between sales, quantity, and discount. But it doesn't work this way because you still need to create a calculated measure, which is, where is my selected? A selected measure. Let's see, let me search out. There we go. So over here, this is a very simple if statement. You can do case statement. Either one is fine. But what essentially this does is it checks the parameter. So if it's sales, then it returns the sum of sales. If it's discount, it takes the average discount, multiplied by 100 because it's in decimal points. And then if it's quantity, it just sums up quantity. And now you can actually use that parameter to switch between the different matrix, right? But the one thing you will notice is that the numbers don't have the prefix and the suffix. So if you change the format for this measure now, it changes for everything. So example, if you put a dollar sign and you switch it over to discount, the discount would have a dollar sign in front. But we obviously don't want that. So how you would kind of hack this is that you have to create a prefix and a suffix. So the prefix is very simple. It's just taking an if statement. If the dynamic matrix is sales, then you return a dollar sign. If not, it returns nothing. Similarly, for the suffix, you do it for the discount, which is over here, right? So if it's discount, then you return a percentage sign. What you do next is to drag this two into the tooltip and just make sure that you have this in front and behind. So you add the prefix and add the suffix. And then now if you hover over, you can see the dollar sign. And then if you do a quantity, it doesn't show anything. And if you do the percentage, the discount, you'll see the percentage at the back. Right. There's some other things that you can format, but this is generally the idea of it. Right. The third thing is static titles, right? So oftentimes when we create a table and we have a multiple variation of the same matrix. So for example, you have a like order of count of orders, sum of orders, minimum of orders, maximum of orders. There's only a limited number of aliases that Tableau allows you to create. You can't use the same aliases. So what I mean by aliases is that you can right click on this and change this to say, for example, order count, right? If you change this to order count, none of the other matrix can use the same name because it's pointing back to the same reference table. What you can do to hack this is that you can create a horizontal container. Let's see. How is it? Okay. And then have two text objects inside. So you have this like category, which is essentially the first one. Right, let me just put this across. This a background so they can see. Wait, no. Okay. And then okay, you can copy and paste and drag this inside. Okay, this will be subcategory. Right. So now you have both of the dimensions, and you need something for the measures itself also. So what you could do is you can use the same logic that Tableau does. So if you look at Tableau, if you set this to entire view, you can only change the dimension width. So over here and here, but you can't change any of the matrix width, right? So this is actually distributed equally. So you can utilize the same logic and let me see, copy this entire thing and you paste this container. I'm just doing a very quick version of this and just drop this inside. Yeah. So you see here is a nested container, right, with the two dimensions and a separate container that has all the metric there. So for example, this one you can change to sales. And then this one you can change to order count, for example. I'll just do 2 examples. And this container, you can actually set it to distribute evenly. And now this entire thing, you can drop it at the top. And what you do from here is that you adjust the width for the first 2 columns, right? So you adjust this and this, right? And the matrix container over here will get distributed equally. So if you have, so for example, here I have like 6 different measures. So you have like 6 text object. It will distribute accordingly and match the column width. So this is one way of going around it. Okay. Now the fourth one I want to show to you is the extended axis, right? What I mean by extended axis is this, right? So if you don't have any extended axis, what it means is that the data set range would only visualize the date range that the data has, right? So when you have a matrix, when you have a label that is put at the end of the lines, which is what usually we do for spark lines, this will get overlapped with the lines itself. So how we overcome this is that we add a bit of width to both the left and the right of the axis by introducing a LD function, right? So how you would do that is you can actually add this thing, right? Over here is basically taking a fixed calculation of the maximum order date and adding 12 more months to it. You can play around with the values. If let's say you are visualizing a week's data, obviously you don't have to add 12 months because that would like stretch it really long. You can add like maybe 7 days or like 2 weeks and stuff like that. But play around with the figure, and you do the same thing for the minimum axis, which is in this case a minimum, but you use a negative value instead of a positive, so it subtracts rather than adds. And now these 2 values can be added as a detail, and you can add a reference line. Wait, sorry. This has to be a discrete attribute. I think this has to be this continuous value. That's the maximum, and then this is the minimum. So now you can add a reference line and take the minimum, and you can actually hide everything. So your labels, your tooltips, your lines, and make sure you don't recalculate it. And then you add a same one for the maximum line. Okay, and you remove everything else. Okay. And then now you can see that the labels actually sit snugly outside of each of it. And if you hover over here, now this is the changed one. So you can see it has like a, you can still see the line if you hover over, but you know, it doesn't really make sense. It doesn't really make a difference because you are still, you know, changing the color to transparent. Okay, the next one I have for you guys is separate legend color. So this is something that I use very often because when you have like, you know, your executive always like tables, right? They like to have your Excel tables and stuff like that, and they like to have different colors for positive values and different colors for negative values. But you can't do that, especially when you have like values of different ranges. So for example, if you add a color now, there's a few ways you can do it. You can add the measure values to the colors, but what this does is it takes the minimum of the entire table and the maximum of the entire table. So obviously for your percentage points, it will be close to invisible, and then your sales will be like visible because it's the highest value. The other way you could do it is that you can use measure names, and it assigns one color for each of the measure names, right? You can change this, but this still doesn't solve the issue that we have of having a positive value for you know, percentage that's above 0 and having a negative value as well. So how you would do this is that you can use the same measure values. There's actually a hidden, actually not hidden, but not many people know of this function. You can actually right click on the measure values and use separate legends. So what this does is it splits up the coloring for each of the matrix within each of the range. So now the sales value color range is only contain for sales, same for profit, quantity, and the percentage, right? But obviously we don't want colors for the profit, sales, and quantity. We want it to be black, right? So how you would do that is that you can edit the color for the sales. You can set this to a black color. And over here, you can set this, set this to 0 and set this to 0. So what this does is that it's only one scale. So 0 is a definite point. So anything that is more than 0 or equal to 0 will still be black, right? So if you apply this, and see now, it's all one color, right? So this is one way of doing it. So sales, profit, and quantity, I'll not do the other two. For the percentage, there is also a definite point. So anything that is less than 0 should be one color. Anything that is more than 0 is one color. The problem is that if you leave it to Tableau to do that automatically, it would take the full range. So you have a very high percentage growth, like a 500% over here. It kind of stretches that range towards that. So you can actually hack this by just changing the step color to 2 and manipulating the start, end, and center. Over here, what you want to do is you set this to a -1. This sets the maximum value at -100%. And over here, you set the maximum to 100% on the other spectrum and set the center to 0. So it's only a left or right, right? And if you set this right, you can see now it has only 2 different colors range, right? And then the next one I'm going to go through is spacing, right? So this is particularly useful when you are doing like labeling or titles. So here, this is actually just a break line. So you can just enter, use the enter key to break the line. And then this is a break line with a space, right? So you can see even with this tool, Tableau renders break line differently if they detect something in the line itself. So a space is still considered a character. So you have a space actually gives the entire line the full height of that space. If you don't have anything and you just hit an enter, it uses probably like 50 to 70% of the actual height of the character. So that's one way of that's one thing to take note. You can also use Unicode. So this is actually a Unicode. I have a, you can hit, you can Google search for a lot of different Unicodes, but these are like some of the things that you might potentially use. So over here, you see it's not visible, but if you hold, kind of highlight, it's actually a invisible space, right? So you can grab this and just put it over here. And this actually takes up much more space, or rather the full space of the character. So even if you are using space, like the second one, Tableau also restricts the height and the width. So it's not exactly the full character size as well. And you can see it over here, right? So similarly, over here, you can see that the labels have a space, but Tableau doesn't recognize that space. Over here, I'm using the Unicode, and Tableau actually recognizes and processes that as a space. So this is one way of kind of making your labels not stick to your data points, which is quite useful, especially when you come to building spark lines and you don't want the labels to stick too closely to the lines. So that's one way of doing it. There are a lot of other ways you can use Unicodes. You can use, you know, all these arrow keys, or you can use like separators or even star or squares for bullet points and stuff like that. So there are a lot of different ways, and you can search for Unicodes. And Tableau renders most of the Unicodes quite nicely. So there's not much, you know, to it. Okay, the next one is actually scalable legends, right? So what I mean by scalable legends is if you have, I mean, obviously I would not recommend you to have so many dimensions and colors, but this is just for illustration purposes. This is the default legends that is created when you have a chart, right? And you can't actually change the width or make it kind of stretch across the entire spectrum. So even if you, let's say, if I set this to a space of, let me just take this 100, right? It doesn't take up the entire space. There is a way to do that by creating your own legends. So how you would do that is that you can actually grab a subcategory. Let me see. Subcategory. You can grab the subcategory over here. You put it across to the colors, put it across to the labels, set it to squares, and then now you have this thing. You just need to kind of format this. Let me see, left, left, and then this one would be left. Okay, and over here, what you want to do is a trick called minimum 0.0, and this tricks Tableau of to introduce a axis so that you can actually do something like that. So now the labels actually sit next to the icons itself. You can hide this entire thing. Let me see, show this, hide this, and then you can remove all the lines and tables so that you can have something like this. And this actually resizes according to how much space is given to it. So the similar example as previous, if you stretch this across, you can see that now it condenses to the space that is given. So this is a very neat way of creating your own scalable legends. And you can use action filters to click and have the highlights on the table as well, your charts as well. So it works still the same way. It's just a bit more effort on your end, but it creates a much better UX experience for your users. The next one I'll go through is containering. All right. I can't remember which version it started with, but there was a version that Tableau allowed you to copy and paste dashboard items as long as it doesn't contain any worksheets, any parameters or filters. Right. So you can copy anything with horizontal or vertical containers, blank space, text objects, images, or navigation buttons. So example here is, let's say you have this piece, which is a template container of a tree visualization row. You can actually copy this by using Control-C, or you can just go to dashboards and copy selected dashboard items, and you can just paste it. And you can see now you have this thing that floats around, and you can just simply drop into the entire thing. And this is particularly useful because you can easily swap your visualizations into it. So you can now, drag this over. Oh, is it like that? Oh, okay, cool. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you for holding that for me for so long. So you can actually drag all these visualizations in. Oops, I think probably have to close it. All right, and you can easily do that now. Right, but you can't copy and paste this thing now because it has a worksheet, but you can always keep a copy of the non-worksheet container so that you can do like a quick copy and paste. This is especially helpful when you're building dashboards of multiple pages and you want to kind of reuse the layout in different pages. So you can just copy across and then you just add in your visualizations. The second last tip I have for you is the kind of centers around images. So there are two different types of images you can bring in Tableau. One is a PNG or a JPEG. It's quite similar. And then the other one is a SVG, right? The difference between these two is that a PNG is rendered upon the pixel, the image quality that you rendered at. So if you rendered it at 100 pixel, it will keep the quality at 100 pixel. Anything larger than that, the software will stretch it, right? So you can see at this 400 pixels, there's a bit of pixelation. So it's like blurring at the sides and it's not sharp and crisp anymore. Whereas for SVG, SVG is short form for scalable vector graphics. So vector is basically math, right? So it tells the software, draw a point at 0, 0, draw a line across 100 pixels and stuff like that. So it's a set of instructions for the software to draw. So no matter how you stretch or shrink, it will keep the same resolution. So you can see it still keeps as crisp at 400 pixels and even at 20 pixels. So this is one trick, especially when you're creating dashboards with very huge images. And SVG is actually very small size, as long as you don't have like too complex shapes or like 16 million colors or something, then it should be fine. And then the last one okay, is something that is quite unorthodox, but not many people do it. So when you have a matrix that's broken down by a dimension, in a line chart, for example, you can only see the value of the line chart that you hover over, right? So for example, if I hover over the red line, which is technology, I can only see the numbers for technology, right? But sometimes I want to see, my mouse is not working. Sometimes I want to see like the different breakdowns of the other dimensions, and possibly do a comparison. So for example, I want to see like how much more technology is above furniture and office supplies. I can't do it in the chart itself. So how you can possibly hack it is create LD functions, right? Which is over here. So it's a very simple one. So it just takes, so the first line you want to take note is this one, right? So what this does is that it only sums the value of sales if the category fits furniture. So this will always return the furniture. But even if you have just this line and you put it as a label or tooltip in this chart, it doesn't work because it still has that category dimension. It will still break it up. And it would, what this would do, if you just have this line, is that if you hover over the technology and office supplies, it shows a null value, right? But I want to show the furniture sales for all three of the dimensions. So I need to exclude the currently the dimension currently in view. So you can use that in the calculation itself, where you exclude the category, but you still only want to return the furniture. So you do the same thing for office and technology, right? So it's the same thing over here. And now you have this free matrix where you can kind of just drop this into the tooltip, and you can have, I can just do a reset. So it takes the entire thing, right? So you have like sales. I can take away the category because I don't need that now. I can take away the sales. I have the, or maybe I can wait. No, I don't need that because that's not the full value. Then now I just make this a little bit bigger. And now if you hover over, you can see that it has the values for each of the dimensions. And the cool thing about this is that now you can do a comparison or delta across the different dimensions. So you can do another calculate measures that take, technology divided by office to kind of get the deltas. So this is one way of doing it. So all in all, these are the 10 more common tips that I usually do for my dashboards. That hopefully is kind of useful for you guys. Anyone have any questions? Yes. I love Figma. I mean, you don't have to use Figma to draw an SVG. You can do a SVG in PowerPoint as well, or even, I'm not too sure if Paint does that. But Photoshop, Illustrator, any of the image editing tools should be able to do it. Any questions from our virtual speakers?
This is cool. I've certainly learned a few things here.
Really? I thought you had known all of this. Cool. Let me see. Let me see. Do I have any slides more? I think that is all we have for today. Anyone have any questions before we end the call and let everyone mingle around and network? Oh yeah. Just for context, I was holding this and walking around. It's a little box there. Because Surendra was actually holding this for me while I was doing the demo, and then halfway through they gave us this, so you can actually put it on the table. So now I'm holding this and walking this around.
I need photos. I need photos for social media, please.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Will and Kim, again for spending time with us this afternoon for Will and this late evening for Kim. I know your kids have already in bed, so you can probably binge watch some of the TV shows that you want to do.
I'm probably going to go to bed now.
Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. We'll see you soon.